I got an update for you guys today. For anybody that's new to the channel, my name is Eric. I'm a full-time reseller. 2 years ago, almost 3 years ago at this point, I started this crazy eBay challenge. Let me explain. I had walked away from eBay as a reselling platform about 10 years ago to start my brick and mortar store. My store is called BC Modern. It's located in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. We're only open 2 days a month. We spend 30 days curating it. It's full of all mid-century modern items and other weird and eclectic things that I personally find enjoyment in. I don't buy things just because I can make a buck on them. That's not even how I resell on eBay anymore at this point. So when I learned this new philosophy of reselling, where you only buy and sell the things that you like, and you're finding these things and you're trying to find the people that are actually drawn to these things too, it made me start to rethink getting back on eBay. I left eBay because I felt burnt out. I felt like I was buying and selling any and everything to make a buck, and it just was not something that I personally felt like it was going to be sustainable for me or for my lifestyle or for my family. I got to give you a disclaimer. Everything that I talk about in my videos, every path that I've taken to get where I'm at is something that I have done. This my journey. I'm not telling you that you got to do this. Results may vary. I'm giving you examples of a different way of how to succeed as a reseller, because I have been able to be very successful as a reseller. Coming back to the platform, I wanted to do it on a part-time side hustle type of basis. Take a moment, go back, check out these videos that I'm gonna put on the side of the screen here, how I eased my way back into eBay. And I started to ease my way back into it by structuring certain times of day, certain times of month, just for selling on eBay. Fast forward to where we're at right now. I set a goal for myself on a part-time basis, looking at eBay again as a side hustle, because my store is primarily my main source of revenue, and I can't disrupt that. I mean, I spent 10 years building that brand. I do not want to disrupt the BC Modern brand. I still had the struggle of always finding things that I knew I could stick on eBay, but I wasn't sticking them on eBay. And so now I'm doing that again, and I'm doing it on a very, very part-time basis, but I have numbers that I'm trying to hit and sales goals that I'm trying to hit that will make it where it makes sense for me to continue doing it. So I want to give an update because I set a goal for 2024 of hitting $100,000 in sales. And to some people that may sound like, oh, well, you know, you're not doing 200, 300,000. You're not doing anything. Now, keep in mind, I'm going to do this on a very, very part-time basis by focusing my efforts on high quality items that I personally like and find enjoyment in reselling, making sure they have a good sell-through ratio. 90% of what I'm going to sell is going to be done through online auctions on eBay. I'm going to give an update every single month. I want to try to keep them as transparent and simple as possible. If you got questions, please drop them in the comments. This is our path from $0 to $100,000 in 1 year, part-time hustling on eBay, selling things that we actually like and enjoy. I'm going to tell you my total sales for each month when I do these updates. And then I'm also going to tell you the top categories that I'm selling in. If you haven't had a chance to go take a look at the video that I released on my top 5 categories for 2022 and 2023 that helped me get from $0 to $45,000 in 1 year, from $0 to $70,000 in another year. Okay, our total sales for January 2024. Before I give you this number, you please understand that this is just 2 weeks. I didn't do eBay for the entire month because it is very important to me, again, that this does not affect the traffic or what I have to do for my storefront. My store is only open 2 days a month. And what happens is come the 3rd week of the month, I need my focus to be strictly on BC Modern during that time. So that's the time that we're staging. That's the time that we're cleaning. That's the time that we're pricing. That's this time that we're doing all the crunch work it takes to actually put the space together. And then the 4th week of the month is going to be when we really are putting the icing on the cake, the finishing touches. So a lot of times what I'm going to do with eBay for myself for 2024 and probably going forward is to actually make it where I'm only doing eBay for possibly 2.5 weeks a month. And when I say 2.5 weeks a month, that means I'm listing a certain number of items 2 to 3 days a week, sometimes 4 days a week. And I'm running all these things in online auctions, but I'm making sure that they're high quality items so that my average selling price stays at a certain level. I need my average selling price to stay above $66 for this actually to work. So first month, selling January 2024, we did $9,011.54. Now, between eBay and shipping and tax, that we lose probably we lose 2,500 and some change of that, paying the cost of just doing business with that platform. That's what I call it. It's the cost of doing business. Some people call it fees. I'll call it the cost of doing business. If I can go somewhere and I can make thousands of dollars, it's going to cost me money to do that. Even with me owning my building, it still costs me money to make money. Anyways, that's one way to reframe the whole fees concept. It's all the cost of doing business. Nothing is free. All in all, I netted $6,300 from my first month of sales in January of 2024 on my path from $0 to $100,000 on a part-time side hustle basis on eBay. So not really bad. My quantity sold, which is another piece that's very important to me because I am trying to get to a certain number of items sold in this year. And to do that, I have to make sure that I'm kind of hitting certain benchmarks every single month. So this month I sold 134 items. I take that and I multiply that potentially by 12, and I can see where I'm going to end up in items sold for the year. And I'm trying to get to 1,500 items. So that's what I'm trying to get to. Even if I stayed at this current pace, I would end up at about 1,600 items. Average selling price. That's the other piece that's super, super important. I don't know if people really pay that much attention to it, especially if you're like, I'm a volume seller. It's cool to be a volume seller, but you better make sure that volume actually is worth the time. My average selling price for eBay this month for January was $67.25. I mentioned that I like to do auctions. 99% of what I'm going to list on eBay, I started in 99 cents and I sell it through auctions. That's just my preference on how to sell things. Everybody does things differently. Some people love fixed price reselling, and I completely understand that. The way that I like to sell on eBay is I want to have something guaranteed. When I touch that platform, I want to know in a week or so, I got some money coming. I want to know 2 weeks from now, I got some money coming. I don't want to put things out there and I'm just kind of like, I hope it sells. To give you an example, this month in January, I sold $8,973 in online auctions. In fixed priced items, I sold one item. It was $37.95. For myself, this is just how my breakdown works. Online auctions are key for me. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just telling you what works for me, and I'm sharing my journey with you in hopes that you may find something in what I'm saying that will help you to grow your business. Kind of what it comes down to. Now, the one piece that I actually did list in a fixed price listing, or buy it now or best offer store inventory type listing, was an item that I listed as an online item 3 or 4 months ago. I think it was about 3 months ago, and it didn't get a bid, which is cool because sometimes you don't get a bid. Now, a lot of my items, I start them in 99 cents because they have a higher demand. This item, I didn't do that because I recognized the demand wasn't that strong. So I started it a little bit lower than kind of what you would be able to get it in a buy it now type atmosphere or store inventory. Nobody bought it. That's okay. Started to relist it as a store inventory item. It took obviously almost 3 months for it to sell. That's the piece that you have to pay attention to when you want to build something, like an online store inventory, because you have to have the space to house it. You have to have a system in place that if you sell this item, you can find it. You have to have enough income coming in that you are okay waiting for potentially 2, 3, 6, 8, a year, 2 years. Because I hear people on these platforms and they're like, oh, I bought that last year for $1. I sold it for 25. It's like, well, what's the point of that? Like you didn't even charge yourself storage, basically. Just pay attention to those kind of things and understand that even when you're listing in a store inventory type atmosphere, maybe be more aggressive on your pricing so that you can move things at a faster pace. Nobody has unlimited space and nobody has unlimited money to just keep pouring into something that's not selling. So I'm not going to preach too much on that. Let's get to the top 5 categories for January 2024. And if you've been following any of my videos, some of these ain't even going to be no surprise to you, because I'm not going to just talk and say the things that I do to become successful or that work for me. I'm going to show you how to do it. I'm going to show you. And if you need more proof, Do it. Number one category. I'm going to go other way for you because some of y'all ain't got no patience. It is what it is. Number one category for 2024, January 1st month was toys. Toys. I can't stress it. Vintage toys are one of the most consistent things in the resale business. So vintage toys in particular, the toy soldiers category was my top selling category for January 2024. My number two category was, again, toys. This time it was in models, and I had a bunch of aircraft models. I had a bunch of military stuff. So I have nothing more to say. You're literally going to hear me say this category for this entire year. So you better start paying attention. I don't know. Vintage toys. Number three, vintage toys again, but this time it was action figures. I love toys. I love them. There's not many toys that I just won't buy, especially if they're vintage boys toys. I just love them. I didn't get many toys as a kid, and so I make up for it as an adult now. Even if I'm selling these things, I find genuine pleasure in handling them. I find genuine pleasure in finding them. I find genuine pleasure in bringing them to market. I find genuine pleasure in packing them and sending them to the next person. If you guys don't understand what I'm trying to convey and stress after 20 years of doing this, is don't get into this business thinking that it's a get rich quick scheme that you can buy and sell any and everything and you're just going to be straight. You're going to burn out. You better get into this business thinking long term, thinking, how can I do this and it be sustainable? And the number one way that this is going to be sustainable for you is to start to focus on things that actually bring you enjoyment, things that don't make you dread getting up every day. There are so many miserable resellers because they're out here chasing the money. No, that's not how you're going to be successful. That's not how it's going to be sustainable. You have to chase the things that bring you joy. I didn't even know this. I learned this through my store. I had did so many different things in the resale business prior to me opening my store and being at a point in my life as a reseller and as a human being to say that I was broken. I was like, what am I going to do with my life? And my wife looked at me and she says, well, if you're so unhappy being eBay or, having a pawn shop and an auction company, if you're so unhappy with these things that you've done and tried, go get a job again. Go back to corporate America. And I knew right then that I had to change. I had to change how I was going to do this. And so I opened up my store, a very small space, less than 1,000 square feet. And I filled it full of things that I liked. And I tried to find people that liked the same thing that I did. And what happened was it started to grow. And I also started to grow as a person. I started to grow as a reseller. And about year 2 or 3, it clicked that it was never that I didn't know how to resell. It was never that I didn't know how to be successful on a platform. It was never that I didn't have a good location. I was literally chasing the wrong metrics. I was chasing the ideal of, if I buy and sell and know something about everything and can, find this over here and sell this over here and that's not sustainable. It's just not sustainable. Nobody has unlimited funds. Nobody has unlimited space. Nobody knows everything about everything. So you're going to always feel like you're missing out on something. The list goes on and on. It really does go on and on. And I hope that I'm not trying to preach. And here I am throwing some fluff in here. But this fluff is good fluff. And I think some of y'all need to hear this because there are so many miserable resellers that do not have to be miserable. Okay, we're going to get through this. Last two categories. We're going to get through this. Last two categories because I got to get out of here and go get my kid from school. There's my timer. Last two categories because I got to go. Collectibles, Christmas collectibles. I've said this before in the past. Christmas sells all year round. Learn vintage Christmas. You'll make a lot of money selling it. And then my number 5 category was actually sewing machines. I sold one sewing machine for almost $500. That was my January right there in a breakdown of my top 5 categories. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button. Please hit the subscribe button. Don't hesitate. If you got questions, concerns, things you want to talk about, drop them in the comments. You can always find me on Instagram, BC Modern, MKE for my store, Eric the Vintage Hunter to find me directly. I'm on TikTok as the same thing. I seriously hope you guys enjoyed the video. What do we say at the end? We'll see you on the next one.